Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Two Question Tuesday. We have with us today, we have Brian DeWyer, who is co-founder and CTO of an interesting company called Reveille Software. I've known Brian for years, so I think this will be an interesting two questions for everyone. So let's dive right in. So you do something unique in the industry. Can you explain ECM monitoring and its value?
Sure. First, thank you, Brian, for the opportunity to talk to everyone today. So what Reveille does is we provide performance, service level management, and security analytics for content systems. So why is that important given all the other monitoring tools that are out there in the industry today? Well, what's happening is there's, for those that run ECM shared services, centers of competencies, automation groups, automation areas, there's still situations where why people come to us where the all the monitoring tools and everything that you would use to make sure an application is working correctly are all green, but the customer's still calling and saying things aren't working. So we have been at this for 15 years or so, and so what's different about us is we can directly tell you where the issue is failing within your content services, aka ECM environment. We support multiple platforms. That is, latest data from AIM shows there's at least four more platforms within an organization. We cover almost all of them. So we can give you a homogeneous view of what's going on in your environment from performance, service level, and content access perspective. One of the things we do that's unique is we detect, respond, and contain when there's a content access issue. There's plenty of folks out there today who do a great job on what's commonly called DLP, that look inside the content. What's lost in translation a lot of times is who accessed the content, especially from the content systems and how they've been integrated today. The other piece that's, I think, important about the topic is when you move to the cloud and you're in a on-premises containerized type environment, there's a thought that, well, monitoring is taken care of. We have monitoring tools, or the cloud does that for me. But what we see is happening, more people have what's called a hybrid implementation, where they still have some content or applications on premises, and they need to have a view and manage the whole content services infrastructure. That is, they need a piece that looks at the cloud, they need a piece that looks at the on-premises, and all the integration points in between. So with all the the focus now on hyper automation and the latest process buzzword of the year, let's call it that.
But
Content is very critical when we talk about how are you going to effectively streamline a process, reduce the exceptions, and yield strategic value to an organization. And so the importance of the applications built on top of content has only elevated. And if you're a tier one or a high priority application, you need something that's focused to look at it versus trying to build something yourself or rely on tools that aren't specific enough and understand what your content system is doing and what's important about it. So that's what I think we bring to the table and why we're still relevant and we're growing today.
okay, I'm always amazed at how complex. It's complex, but I'm always amazed at how complex it actually is when you start getting into the weeds here. Now, ECM per Gartner is passé, at least the phrase. So I'm going to avoid my predilection, as you just mentioned, buzzwords. And, we've had that conversation. I'm not a huge fan. So I won't. I'll leave that aside, set that aside for a second. But why should and are companies continuing to invest in this technology, content services, ECM, whatever we want to call it?
Well, that is an interesting term. It's kind of like an oldie but goodie in my mind, because it does contain content, and most of the new words to have content somewhere around it. And also what's I think important about that word is it includes management. So management to me indicates this is important information. I need to manage it and store it and archive it and protect it, secure it, et cetera, et cetera. But it also indicates there's process around it. It's not just, this isn't something that's, quote, sitting in a digital file cabinet that occasionally people use. And the understanding part of that word now too is enterprise. And that's where I think, to directly answer your question, I think that fits even more today, because an enterprise has become more virtual than physical. We all know that.
Right.
And you look for, okay, what can I call it besides an enterprise? Well, you can look at an organization or a firm or a business. That really doesn't capture that in my mind. The breadth of how people are trying to apply these digital assets throughout the processes, especially if you talk about digital transformation. One of the key goals of a digital transformation project is to impact strategically how you work with your customers, how they get information, how they can communicate with you, and how you can provide them new products or services. And to do that, given where the marketplace is going, and obviously demographics, as Andresen has said, data is the new oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when you talk about data, you need to include unstructured content in that. And so we see the use and activity of how to better access the information, make it available in other applications, and do it in a cost-effective manner. That's where obviously the cloud comes into play. It's only increasing in importance. The other way I would view it is when we talk to our either prospects or customers today, content is a key component of how organizationally they are setting themselves up. One of the newer terms we're seeing is like a vice president of automation. Okay, and that really that covers a lot of different technologies. It could cover RPA, intelligent automation, document management systems, and all that fits into, in my mind, an enterprise type perspective. So there's digital is a big part of when you're looking at how am I going to automate things, because as we everyone that predicted there would be no more toner sold for laser printers has been continuously wrong. And that still happens. And so content needs to be digitized. The other piece is, last thing I'll say is, a lot of the content, when we say digitize, it's coming in it's already in an electronic format, but it needs to go through these processes, be it an email attachment, EDI, some type of DICOM type information, any of the exchange formats that are popular, or with the ability to quickly reach out and gather information through a modern API approach, and not have to do direct integration. That's really opened the doors in terms of a lot more content being stored in unstructured ways. That's my thought.
It always kind of revolves back around the content, and it's almost like when you said data is a new oil. It's I thought maybe content is solar or renewable energy. Well, as always, Brian, thank you for your time. We're both from the South, so we could keep talking. But
That's right.
we will stop there. Thanks as always.
Thanks, Brian. Good to see you.